In today's video, we're going to show you how to draw the combination circuit. There are a lot of different options of how to draw a circuit, but I want to show you how to edit an existing circuit to change it to our combination circuit. So we're going to go ahead and open up our AutoCAD. And instead of doing new like we've done before, we're going to open an existing drawing. And it should show you out here, this should be the last one that we did. So we're going to open our parallel circuit, and then we're going to edit this drawing to have this resistor in series with R2 in parallel with R3, and we're going to add an R4, and those two will be in series. The first thing we want to do, because we want to keep our parallel circuit, so the first thing we're going to have to do is come up here and do a save as. You can click this icon there, or you can go to File and do a Save As down here. And we are going to leave it in our CAD folder, but instead of a parallel circuit, we're going to do a combination circuit. So we're going to remove the parallel, and we're just going to put in a combination. So that will be a combination circuit. We're going to save that. So now we can do our edits and we'll still have our original parallel circuit. So that if we want to reference that, we still can. So to start making our drawings, the first thing we got to do, and you got to make sure that you are in the correct layer. So when we left off of the parallel circuit, we was in the text layer. So we want to go back to our object. So we want to be in our object layer when we do our drawings. We will add some text later, and then we will have to go back and go to our text layer. So if we're in our objects layer, then we should be able to edit our circuit, and it is be in our combination circuit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this branch from our circuit. So we're going to highlight these two lines, and then we're going to delete those two lines. Now we need to rotate this resistor so it will be in series with our resistor, our other two parallel resistors. To do that, we're going to delete these two lines because they will be too long, and we're going to try to orient this a little closer. We're going to spread these out just a little bit, so we're going to move these over. So we're going to add another line here, and we're going to go from the end point of our existing line, and we're going to go over in a horizontal plane 0.7 inches. And that will be where our R1 will be located. Now we're going to just highlight R1, and we're going to come up here and hit the rotate icon so we can rotate R1. And then we'll click on the endpoint, and then you notice as we move the mouse it rotates, and we will rotate it 90 degrees, and then you click and that will make our resistor rotated. And then you can click on it and you get this little square. You can click on the square and it will drag to the endpoint of the line that we just created. We have to hit escape so that is no longer highlighted. And then we'll come to another line from the endpoint of the resistor we just made, and we're going to go over another 0.7 inches. And then that will be how we align or how much we spread out our parallel circuit that is already there. Now we need to move our label with R1. So we're going to just click on our label and again click on the square and drag it up to centered of our resistor. Now it looks a little, we don't need it to be this small. We don't need it to be two lines. So if you click on the arrow up here, you can drag it out and make it all in one line. And then you can move it down to where it is fairly centered with our resistor. And then we have to hit escape to undo this. Now we need to move R2 over to where it will give us a little more room here to add our resistor. So we're going to highlight this whole section here. And again, if we click from the bottom to the top, it highlights everything that that box touches. If we click from the top down, it has to be completely in that box. So then we're just going to type in move into our command line, and we can move the end of this line and go over to the end of this line. So now that we have R2 moved over, we need to complete our circuit up here and move our line over. So we just click on our line. Again, we click on the square at the end of the line, and then we'll drag it over to our endpoint, and it will stretch that line to make our circuit. And then we'll hit escape so we unselect it. So I do want to add another resistor here in this circuit. And as you notice, there is not enough room to add another resistor. So we're going to have to stretch these two lines out a little bit because you want these to be centered. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to come over here to our battery and we're going to delete these two lines. Then we're going to add another line from our battery and we're going to go up 2 inches. So just go up 2 inches, type in 2 and hit enter. And then we're going to hit escape and add another line at the bottom. We're going to come down and we have to make sure we go in the 90-degree direction, do another 2 inches and hit enter. That will put our two lines in the same distance. So then we'll highlight this line and these two, and then again we're going to move this to the top of our line. So we just type move, select the endpoint, move it up to the other endpoint, and we may have to bring down our text just a little bit so it will be on the page, and make it even with our resistor. And then we'll do the same thing here with our bottom lines. We want to keep them consistent, so we'll click on those, highlight all the bottom lines, hit move, go to the endpoint, and make it the endpoint of our other line. And then we will just R2, we can just extend this line till it comes up and hits the intersection of this line. And then the same thing with the bottom, because we're not going to put any more resistors in this branch. But in R3, we want to add another resistor. So we're going to delete our two existing lines, and then we're going to add a line from the end point here, and we're going to come down 0.4 inches. That will be where our R3 is going to go. So then we'll select R3 with its text, and again we'll type in move. We'll move from the endpoint of our resistor to the endpoint of our new line. And then we will add another line from the bottom of the resistor down another 0.4. And then that will be the space in between our two resistors. And then I would like to just select R3 again with its text. And we're going to copy that. So we can just type in copy and hit enter. And we'll select the endpoint of the top side of that resistor and drag it down to the bottom of our line that we just created. And that will be adding this will be R4. So we can click on our text that we have there, and we're going to adjust this. We're going to delete the 3 and make this R4. And then hit, just click off of it. And we add one more line to complete our circuit. And then that will be our combination circuit. Before we save it, we need to modify our resistor values. We're going to use different resistors for this parallel circuit, and we will just edit those values as we did with our 4. Okay, I went ahead and changed the values. You just had to click on them and highlight them and change the values. I didn't. I'm going to let you do that by yourself to save some time. But what I would like to do next with this circuit is I would like to start solving this circuit. And we have to simplify this circuit. So if we notice, we got this resistor is in parallel with this resistor and then these two in series. So I want us to draw an equivalent resistance of just these two resistors in series. And that combination will be in parallel with this. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to highlight our circuit that we have drawn already. I want to highlight the whole thing. And then we can copy. You can just hit Alt-C, or you come up here to edit and copy. But I just want to copy that. And then we're going to come down here on the bottom. And where it says layers, I want to go to layer 2. So in layer 2 is where we're going to draw our equivalent resistance. So I'm just going to hit Control V for paste, and it's going to paste our circuit that we just drew into our second layout. And just try to center it in the middle of our layout the best we can. And we can go to the end point of our circuit, and it's there. It just takes, my computer's kind of slow this morning, but it will be there. So now what I want to do is take these two resistance and make an equivalent value. So resistors in series, just add. I'm going to let you do the calculations, but I want you to draw a equivalent circuit. So to do that, we're just going to delete our resistor number 4, and then we're going to delete the text that goes with resistor number 4. Now, to keep this in line, we want this to be in line with our other resistor. So we're going to come up here to the top, and we're going to draw a construction line. So we're going to go to our construction layer, and we're going to click on us a line, and we're going to go from the top of our R2, and we're going to go straight across. So that will give us a reference point to where we need to move our R3 to. So we're going to highlight our R3 and the comments, and we're going to type in move, and then we're going to move it from the top point to where we intersect our line that we just made. So now our R2 and R3 are in line within other. So we're going to change the name of this to REQ, and I'm going to call this REQ1. So we will have another REQ later. And I'm going to let you calculate the value that this would be. So you would just add those other two resistance together, and that would be the value of your REQ. And we're going to click off of that, and then we're going to extend our line at the top, and then we're going to escape and extend the line at the bottom. So this is going to be our first equivalent circuit. Now that we have our equivalent resistance made, we need to clean up our circuit just a little bit. We're going to delete our construction line that we drew, and we have a line left in the middle. So again, if you click from the bottom to the top, it highlights everything that box touches. We don't want to delete all of this, so we're going to escape. So make this not highlighted. So if you click from the top down, it only highlights the thing that is completely inside the box. So that will highlight just that line. We can hit delete, so we will delete that line. Now we have to make another equivalent circuit. We've added those two resistors together to make our equivalent resistance. Now we have these two resistors that are in parallel with one another. So we want the equivalent resistance of those two resistors in parallel. And we'll do this the same way. We're going to highlight our entire circuit. We're going to go from the bottom to the top so we get everything selected. And then we're going to hit copy again, Control C, and we're going to put this in a new layer. Now we don't have a new layer down here, so we're going to have to hit the plus sign to create us a new layer. And we'll click on our new layer, and then we will Control V and paste our circuit into our new layer. And we will get it somewhere centered into our circuit, so that you have about the same amount of squares on each side. Where the voltage source is, we'll need a few more squares, so we'll get it centered best we can in our circuit, and then just click, and that will drop off our circuit. So now we need to draw our equivalent resistance, and we don't want to just put it here. We want to spread it out so it's fairly centered in our circuit. So we're going to move this line to the center of our existing line here, which will center up our circuit. So we'll just type in move again. I'm sorry, let's just select the whole thing here. We'll highlight the whole thing and move it over to the center of our existing line. So we will type in move, go to the end point, and then if we would want it in the middle of this line. So we type MID, that will go to the midpoint. We will get our triangle, and we put our resistance in the middle of our line. And then it'll just be simply deleting our R2 and our lines. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete this line and delete this line. And we're going to add our lines from there to there. And then escape. And then this is going to be now REQ2. So this is going to be our equivalent resistor 2. And then you have to do the calculations, take those two values and put them in parallel. That's 1 over the sum of 1 over R1 plus 1 over REQ. Now you notice our resistor here is not centered in our this part of our circuit. To center our circuit, we're going to in our construction layer still. So we're going to make a few construction lines. We're going to click on the top of this line and come over to the top of this line. And then we're going to create another line that is in the end of our resistor to the end of our second resistor. So then again, we're going to click from the bottom to the top, and we're only going to select our resistor and that line that we just created. And we're going to type in our midpoint, and it's going to be the midpoint of the line that we just created. Oh, sorry. We're going to type in move. We're going to do the move first. So we'll highlight it, type in move, and then it's going to ask us where we want to move it from. This will be where we type in our midpoint. We're going to go to the midpoint of the line that we just created, and then we want to put that in the midpoint of our existing line. So we'll go up, we'll find our midpoint up here. Find our midpoint up here. Why is it not? There it is. So what it's doing is taking the midpoint of the resistor. So we need to have the midpoint of our construction line. So if we click over here, move our mouse over here, it puts it in the midpoint of our construction line. And then that resistor should be centered within that circuit. And now we're going to delete our construction lines. Now we're going to delete our construction lines that we just drew. So we will make sure that we highlight our construction lines and then delete that construction line. And now we have a line here. I'm just going to use that line to stretch it out and to complete our circuit. It's not at our endpoint. So I'm going to show you how to zoom. If you come over here to our window, if you click on the zoom button, you click on the little arrow below it, we can zoom a window. So if you zoom a window, you have the little magnifying glass there, and we're going to select this area here and zoom in on it. And we can see that our lines are not connected. So we're going to click on this line, click on the square, and stretch our line to the end point of our resistor. Then we're going to hit escape and do the same thing on this side. Click on our little square and add it to the end point of our resistor. And if we hit our hand, we can pan and bring this back to the center of our screen. So this is going to be our second equivalent circuit. We're going to do one more. We're going to simplify this one more time, and we're going to put these two resistors in series, and that will give us our total resistance. So after you have this value, all you have to do is add this value to your R1, and that will give us our total resistance. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to draw our total resistance circuit. It will be really easy. It'll be one more circuit that we can draw. So again, we will highlight our whole circuit that we had just made from the bottom to the top. Do Control C and copy it. We're going to add us a new layer at the bottom, and we're going to click on our new layer. And we're going to paste our circuit into our new layer, and again center it the best we can. And then all we're going to do this time is we're going to delete our R1, and then we're going to connect our lines back together. And now we're going to name this, instead of our equivalent resistance, this is going to be our total resistance. So we're just going to delete the equivalent and make that RT, which will be our total resistance. And again, you just add those two circuits together. And we're going to take this and we're going to put it in a PowerPoint slideshow, and show you how to make a slideshow and how to do the formulas and how to do the calculations for each of these circuits, of these equivalent circuits. But this is all we're going to do in CAD, and then the rest of the assignments we will be doing in our PowerPoint. So I want you to come up here and do another file save. This should already be saved as a combination circuit drawing. So all you would have to do is hit save, and that will save all of your layers. So you should have layer 1 that has the complete circuit. You should have layer 2 that has the equivalent of the R3 and R4 in series. You should have layer 3 that is equivalent of REQ1 in parallel with R2. And then you should have layer 4 that has your total resistance and the total voltage source. That is how we're going to do our combination circuit.